Out of all the open world sandbox games that exist in the world today, Minecraft is the only sandbox game that faces an inventory issue. An issue that has gotten so bad that you could have a full inventory in less than 10 minutes of game time. In response, Mojang has tried to fix the issue, but they would fail to solve it twice, and they're about to fail for the third time, leaving the inventory issue to plague the game over the course of 14 years, ever since its first release back in 2009. So how did we get here? It started on September 29, 2011. Reddit user Soapawake wrote a post that would change the course of Minecraft history forever. This marked Mojang's first attempt at solving the inventory problem. Soapawake would suggest a chest that contained the same inventory, accessible from anywhere on the map. It effectively grants you extra inventory, while also allowing you to instantly send your valuable items back home for safekeeping. This was the creation of the Ender Chest. With a recipe of an ender pearl surrounded by 8 planks of wood, some players were immediately skeptical of its power. Some wanted the recipe to cost more, some suggested a penalty for breaking the chest, and some felt that it was too overpowered for Minecraft. What a bunch of cow, but the community's feedback was very positive overall, and Jeb himself really liked the idea. And so in update 1.3, under a new crafting recipe of 8 obsidian and an eye of ender, ender chests were officially added to the game. Ender chests were going to be a game changer. Ender chests were going to be revolutionary. And ender chests were going to solve the inventory issue. Ender chests absolutely did not solve the inventory issue. Their convenience was pretty much non-existent due to the amount of setup that you needed. They also had a severe penalty that made them break into 8 obsidian blocks, making themselves impossible to recraft once broken, effectively removing almost all the impact they would have had on your inventory. Unless you had Silk Touch. But enchantments were hot garbage back then. Eventually, ender chests were seen as failures and will be forgotten in today's day and age. But this was only the beginning. In update 1.11, Mojang will make their second attempt at solving the inventory issue. This was the update that added totems of Undying. They were unstackable and they also had nipples. The inventory issue was going to get worse, and Mojang had to do something. And something they did. Referring to the end theme that the ender chest had, Mojang decided to follow up on that, looking at all the features that the end had to offer, before landing on the shulkers. And just like that, inspiration struck once again. Shulker boxes were added to the game. They were essentially portable chests, trading 1 item slot of yours in exchange for 27. After 4 years, shulker boxes were here, and they were going to replace the shit out of the ender chests. People really like the shulker boxes, just like how people really like this video, so they hit the like button on it. And people became very mathematical. So in your inventory, you have 36 slots. Each one of the slots can have 1 shulker box. So that's 36 shulker boxes. Each of those boxes have a slot space of 27, which can all have 64 stackable items in them. 27 times 64 equals 1,728 items per shulker box. 1,728 times 36 equals 62,208. Maybe this was it. Shulker boxes weren't a solution, they were going to be the solution. They were going to fix everything. Shulker boxes were going to solve the inventory issue. Shulker boxes absolutely did not solve the inventory issue. While shulker boxes were an improvement over the ender chests, they've kept one of the ender chest's most fatal flaw: their convenience. They were both blocks that needed to be placed down, lacking the smooth interaction that players needed while exploring. On top of that, the massive increase in portability also came with a massive difference in rarity. Shulker boxes were too rare to be effective solutions. Instead of filling the mid to late game gap that ender chests left behind, shulker boxes were solutions that only popped up late game, after the ender dragon, leaving the early to mid game in absolute inventory hell. Having failed twice, most people would have just given up. The inventory issue was a full-on Elden Ring boss that no one could defeat. But Mojang wasn't like most people. Which leads us to Mojang's third and most controversial solution thus far: bundles. They were essentially compressors. Instead of holding entire stacks of items, they contained a bunch of items in smaller amounts. And they were to be used at all stages of the game.
I think we spend a lot of time talking about the inventory problem, and I think one of the biggest takeaways there was that this is not actually one problem. It's constructed from a lot of sub-problems, but I think there is a third sub-problems where every time you leave your base to go exploring somewhere, your inventory keeps getting full of junk. Like, this lot just has 2 flowers. This lot has just 1 seed. And I think the bundles are really gonna help with that problem.
And so bundles were added to Minecraft in 1.17, 1.18, 1.19, 1.20, 1.21. Hopefully, and this time, it was going to be different. Bundles were not going to be Minecraft's next inventory failure. They were going to break the cycle of disappointments. Bundles will finally solve the inventory issue once and for all. Bundles absolutely will not solve the inventory issue. When bundles were introduced, they were met with a heavy dose of skepticism, as evident with this video by SimpliSark, which has aged spectacularly, by the way.
Bundles are a new item coming to Minecraft in 1.17.
They would also receive multiple delays since Mojang couldn't figure out how to make them usable on mobile. But if I'm being honest, it's not the delays that I'm worried about. It's Mojang releasing the bundles in a completely garbage state after all these years. Wow. Bundles pick up on where Ender Chests and Shulker Boxes left off, but just like the two solutions before them, they fail to solve the root issue. Mojang is right in the sense that the inventory issue is actually multiple smaller problems. Having a container that doesn't need to be placed down is a step in the right direction. But the issue isn't the inventory getting filled with small amounts of random junk, it's items that earned junk but take more space than they need to because they're unstackable or not stackable enough. It's the stuff that's already in our inventory that's causing the inventory issue. With a capacity of only 64, it'll be really hard for bundles to solve the inventory issue when one unstackable immediately makes it full. But something that Mojang has to realize is that when every solution so far has failed to fix the inventory problem, then the inventory system is the problem. Which brings me to what I believe is Mojang's true obstacle to the inventory issue. It can be summed up in one word: nostalgia. Even to this day, I still see comments where some people talk about how they prefer the old cave generation before 1.18, or how they prefer the old nether before 1.16. Features that have received an overall improvement. The simplest, easiest, and most effective solution is to just rework inventory as a whole. Let's start with the player's inventory. 36 doesn't have to be the maximum number of slots. When Minecraft was made 14 years ago, Notch probably just saw the numbers 1 to 9 on the keyboard and said, hey, let's make the hotbar have 9 slots, and then copy it 3 more times. We could extend this philosophy by increasing the amount of slots on the hotbar to 10, with the number 0, and then increase it to 40 slots in total. There's no reason to strictly have 36 slots because it's probably just an arbitrary number that was decided 14 years ago. In fact, since these other 27 slots aren't even part of the 1 to 9 keybinds, they don't have to be limited as multiples of 9. We could add 12 more slots in total, making it 48 slots. But because of nostalgia, Mojang probably doesn't want to upset the balance of the 36 slots. Out of fear that players might not like it because something that has stayed the same for all these years received a change. Even though it's probably just a random number from 14 years ago. The other issue stems from items in general. Their stacking mechanics are too inconsistent. I don't see why Mojang refuses to change the maximum capacity of some items. It's not like they haven't done this before. Like, here's an example. This is a bucket.
Dear God.
There's more.
No!
You see this stack of 16 buckets? This used to be impossible. Buckets used to be unstackable. 64 solid blocks of iron? No problem. An empty iron bucket? Update 1.3 would change their maximum capacity from 1 to 16. But I don't see why this change in maximum capacity can't be applied to water, lava, and snow buckets. I don't see why buckets in general earn 64 like other items. I don't see why 64 is still the maximum in general. The maximum capacity for items was even 999 once during Minecraft InfDev, which actually looks kind of cursed, not gonna lie. You could argue that some items are less stackable because they're more powerful. Ender pearls are kept to 16 because they're powerful in the right hands. Which, okay, fair enough. So, why are eggs and snowballs kept to 16 as well? Totems and potions are unstackable because they're extremely valuable. Fair enough. But why are saddles unstackable? Are saddles secretly OP and capable of one-shotting the Ender Dragon and I just don't know it yet? Let's pause for a moment and let me ask you a question. Will buffing or reworking inventory make it overpowered? Personally, I don't think it does. These comments from 7 years ago sum it up best.
Maybe I'm old, but I find inventory restrictions super fun. Most games 20 years ago did this. A lot of the time it was done well.
Minecraft is different than the sort of games released 20 years ago. In those games, being able to carry more items made you stronger. In Minecraft, it just means more trips to your storage room. If anything, having a better inventory would encourage players to explore. We'd have more space, more means of keeping our items, we'd take less trips to the storage. Mojang should make some items have a higher maximum capacity. Seeds, eggs, flowers, and other junk should go up to 128 or 256, while blocks stay at 64 and only the most powerful items like totems remain unstackable. We'd be able to collect more of an item before they require another slot. And bundles should have an increase to at least 128 or 192 in maximum inventory. This would give it a chance against the actual inventory hogs, the unstackables. This rework revolves around one key aspect: satisfaction. With more space to work with, you will feel like you're less restricted by what you already have in your inventory before you went out to explore the world. Having more freedom over your inventory rewards inventory management because you're now directly responsible if your inventory becomes full. And if you prepared bundles ahead of time before exploring, it lets you explore for longer and collect more loot. It rewards you for preparing ahead of time. Minecraft already has its fair share of failures, and bundles shouldn't add to the list of disappointments, especially when 1.21 is so close. Bundles being another failed feature might have heavy effects on Minecraft's popularity. Check out this video where I talk more about 1.21 and the impact it will have on Minecraft's future. After nerfing copper bulbs in the latest snapshot, Mojang adding bundles in our current state would genuinely kill off any hype that 1.21 currently has, and I hope that doesn't happen. Huge thanks to this week's member, TheFliyngFire, for their generous donation.